Alright, so this is my end of day recap for Thursday. Pretty shitty day. I wanted to see bullishness because of what NQ did. So I'm on the daily. So let's get it. So on Monday opened up here, right? And we've already gone over this, but we ran these flare swings out here, creating SMT with YM, which is string switch, second stage MT pretty much with ES. Not the cleanest because it should have held right here. We decided to resweep, but price. Monday creates C2, confirming the high of the week, and then we displace away there in C3, right? And this low here was taken out a long time ago on YM, and ES broke that SMT. But we know that it could have been middle asset SMT break into expansion, where NQ holds the SMT, ES breaks the SMT, and then we reverse away from that, right? But we failed to reverse away from this after creating it. Right, we broke it here, right here, and we clearly failed to manipulate it. Like, we should have immediately reversed away from that, displace away, if this was going to be a prominent reversal rate. So we already know that NQ should catch up and break this SMT. But ES has completed the universal model. So I simply just want to see NQ catch up, break that SMT. And we've seen Wednesday pretty much did nothing, right? Kind of just consolidated. YM did create a second stage PSP SMT fill. C2, which would be the GXC line sequence. So assuming Thursday C3 continuation to target this low rate. So if Thursday is going to continue to reach the draw on liquidity, then price should respect EQ or C, right, of this range, which we close right here. So I mean, I could probably just mark out, yeah, no. But yeah. So I want to see the wick of Thursday's candle respect the lower half of Wednesday's wick, right? So jumping down to the 4, do we have a refined kill level? Clearly not. Do we have a nice V shape within the C2 to confirm the SMT? We have some form of reversal, right? Clearly we have a V shape CSD. So I want to see this high hold on YM, right? And today to continue from this range here. So if today's going to be bearish, ideally it opens higher. And if there's no 4-hour gap for the refined key level that we want from the high day away from, then there has to be a 1-hour swing high, which we have here on YM. Which NQ is clearly in consolidation from this high to this low. So even if we did take this high out on YM, I wouldn't view this as a relevant reversal because NQ has to run, I guess, range high up. Because if you want all assets to be reversing away from a relevant level, I wouldn't really count that as anything prominent at that point. So Asia did nothing, right? We take this high, but again, we're just edging these highs. YM fails to reach the refined key level. Even during London, we failed to reach it, and then we just displace away. So we didn't hit any key level. There's no framework. So, yeah. To frame the high day away from, and we just displace away. Then we've seen price originally reached range low the consolidation, and very clearly failed to manipulate it. As you can see, we was it on this? Was it? Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, never mind. I think it was. Yeah, I don't know. But I thought it was clean. I don't know if I was on the 50-minute time when I seen that. I don't even know. I don't know. But we reached range low of the consolidation. We reached the drawn liquidity perfectly at 8:30 during 6 a.m. So barely reached below it. We know 6 a.m. doesn't support the bull expansion though, so we would have to mechanically fade it by entering around EQ and having my stop loss in the lower half of this range. But the narrative for why we should be bullish makes sense, I think, right? Because to anticipate this day to be a C2 reversal day, because one, we hit a key level on the daily and above, which is S&P break. So we know that when price breaks S&P, that's when all assets can reverse. Line doesn't really have a reason to continue. Same with ES. And price is extremely bearish, right, on the daily. So that's really good to see. And so we can get a new phase of price. And then also today when it opened higher, or not really opened higher, I wouldn't really count this as an open high because we didn't really engage with any key level, which is left filler swings with highs. So we have an unestablished high day. Asia / London is like the high day. So that's great to see. So yeah, that's like the main logic on why I was anticipating today to be bullish, to create that C2 reversal candle, right? And then we've seen 8 a.m. reach that low, that key level, created the S&P break, and then we have that nice V shape away. That looked very clean. But we still don't got strength towards second stage of the S&P at the reversal, right? Which is what I demand. So 9 a.m. decides to displace away from this level, creating C2 bearishly, which created SMT with this low on YM. And then we created, and then YM closed at 9:30 here. So we're pretty far from this low. Well, so 10 a.m. when it opens up, we know that YM is likely not going to run this low. Wow. And Q is super close to this low. So you can already anticipate price forming that strength towards second stage SMT. So 10 a.m. opened up and created the string switch second stage SMT. Right. So now I can trade the initial swing points away from the key level. Because I got the string switch second stage SMT at the reversal. I would say the daily is aligned because the daily profile supports fade in the daily candle. I would say it more opens lower, leaving unestablished highs, or leaving an unestablished high day, right? Leaving feather swings at the highs. And the 4 hours aligned, right? 10 a.m. supports that bull expansion, and the 1 hour 30 minutes aligned. The only thing that's kind of unclean about this is I'm fading the daily candle and the 6 a.m. 6 hour candle, which opened up here. So, but mechanically I can still fade it, right? Because if I measure it from the opening to the low, my entry is around EQ and my stop loss is going to be at the low of the 10 a.m. C2 candle here. So, which is in discount, the lower half of that range. So mechanically I can fade it. But we know that, let's say 10 a.m. did reverse and then we continue that expansion. We know that price is going to have a hard time expanding beyond this point here because it's the daily open, the daily has that large wick. We know that when price has that large wick, it's going to be hard for price to expand beyond the opening price of that candle. And the 6 a.m. candle opened up here, so it's literally at the daily open pretty much. So this area is a very prominent, highly likely that price is going to stall, consolidate here until 12. But assuming that this candle should close around the opening price reverse, my stop loss, even if I go break even around EQ, it shouldn't reach down ideally to EQ around here to continue higher. I want to see shallow retracements, right, and expansion. So yeah, realistically, I would say all time frames are aligned. I have this range which second stage is the reversal, so I can trade the reversal. And this right here, right, when we create that SME break, we should immediately displace away. This should be the low day. And this string switch second stage MT should also confirm not only the low day, but also the low of the 10 AM forward candle, right? Because if 10 AM doesn't expand away from this, then obviously 10 AM will have to resweep this low, which I wouldn't want to see because we have that string switch second stage MT. So it would pretty much just be a failure to manipulate this low. And also 10 AM will have that large wick, right? So it won't support that bull expansion. So that'd be invalidation for bullishness. So now the only thing I really need to see is, do we have a clean V shape away from this string switch? Right, which William's not showing that. So right when price creates the string switch here at 10 AM with the previous hourly candle low, which is this low on NQ or this low on YM right here. Right when we create that string switch, what do all assets do? They all V shape very cleanly. YM V shapes, ES V shapes, NQ V shapes. Exactly what you want to see. Within one candle too, like that's super clean. So I enter, not sure exactly. Let me see. I don't know if I entered off the CC. Let me log out of this. Oh wait, no, I can't. Fuck. Hold on. Right. So I enter, yeah, off the CC. Yeah. So I enter off the CSD right here. Put my stop at EQ of the 3-minute candles range. Wick right here, pretty much. And I target a 2R because low-hanging fruit, obviously, I know that today's going to have a hard time expanding beyond the opening price. It's not likely that price is going to reach current day high, these feather swings, which is the daily gap, right? Assuming the framework is external to internal back into this range, into the weekly range, to this gap, which is the feather swings at current high, right? But price then retraces super deeply and immediately disrespects EQ or mean threshold of the 5-minute and 3-minute order block, which is already a bad sign. Not something you would want to see. And then we start to expand away. I seen this. I was like, okay, we retrace back into this range around OT. So when we started to expand away like this, I was like, I do not want to see price resweep this low because it's probably going to reach for this low at that point. So I moved my stop while price was expanding away to this low, which reduced my risk by a quarter. And then price does come back, resweep that low, which is really just shitty. Like we should have been displacing higher right now. And then price does go higher from that. And we create the CICC here, which would have allowed me to, if I didn't move my stop, which I think was valid to do so, I would have been able to trail my stop to around here. Right there, which is almost half risk. Price then comes back. Deep ass retracement again in a way, right there. And then it would have almost wicked me out right there. Then it goes back up, creates a new CC. Well, what does this look like? This is just chop, like straight up chop at this point. Like it's not really going anywhere. We're just staying within this range. But this would allow me to reduce my risk even more, a little bit, pretty much at half or slightly above. And then price, or even to like the rejection block here. So slightly above half risk. So too bad I wasn't able to do that, but and then price ultimately just comes back and would have taken me out at like half risk. So anyways, so we're very clearly not really wanting to displace away from that strange switch. So we're found to manipulate the S&D break. Sadly. So today was automatic. I knew today was a lower probability, and that's one thing. Well, let me tell you why. So obviously today I'm anticipating today to reverse right away from this key level. So it's a lower probability because of that. And then I'm also trading the initial reversal right away from the key level with strange switch second stage SMT, which does make it better, a little bit higher probability at that point, but it's still lower probability. But I still think this was valid. I still think it was worth risking money on, honestly. But I already know, like even before I took the trade, I even knew everything. I knew it was lower probability. But I still wanted to take the trade because I was like, I was chasing the high. Like I had FOMO. I feel like, you know, it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you know, the whole week I haven't traded until Thursday. And I was like, damn, I gotta take a trade. But that's just the wrong mentality. That's a horrible mentality. Should I have skipped today? Should I have just waited, you know, if I don't, maybe for something cleaner today, or waited for Friday? Maybe Friday will be super clean. Probably, right? Because obviously there's, I mean, like I said, obviously, like PA could be way cleaner than this. Like I'm taking like realistically shitty trades. Like this isn't like the best trade. I mean, I don't know, probably can't fucking speak. But yeah, honestly, I could have waited for a better PA. But and if I didn't trade this week, then, and if I didn't make any money this week, then that's a W because I didn't lose money. I didn't decide to take something that was shitty. But this could have still played out though. I mean, in reality, this was my model. Everything aligned. It could have still played out, but like I said, it was like a 50-50 chance. It wasn't a guarantee. I knew that, and I was completely comfortable with losing. I was like, whatever. And so, as long as I learn from it, that's all that matters. So the main thing that I really learned from this is, you know, with almost every trade that I take now at this point, because I feel like every trade that I am taking, that I have been taking, has been dog shit. But last week though was a little bit. I learned a lot last week. I'm pretty sure it was last week, where although NQ was A plus, super crystal clear, it was only YM being decoupled that made it unclean and lower probability, right? That was the only reason why I lost last week, a couple times. So, but so there's some things I have learned recently. One, maybe I should start trading metals again, because metals has actually been kind of delivering pretty clean. Like, even though I don't want to like overcomplicate everything, but I kind of feel like I might start looking at metals during NERCAM. And then another thing is, I think I'm going to start, because I remember GXT saying that in order to consider, like before he even said this actually, within, I'll find it. It's way up here. Here. So he says, if I were a struggling GXT trader, I would demand these two things, right? A string switch at the reversal, and then continuation trades, some form of two-stage, right? Ideally, like just simply the continuation PSP. But also, this is very important. Must have clean profile and draw. Demand this, no FOMO, right? No FOMO. That's very important. But must have clean profile and draw, right? So I would say the profile today was clean, and the draw and liquidity is pretty clean because of the daily being extremely bearish. Having this gap, the 4 hour leaving on established high day, leaving equal highs or filler swings. So I think the draw liquidity was pretty clean, but like I said, it was still lower probability because of it being a reversal day, trading the initial reversal, etc., etc. But then I'm fading the daily and 6 hour at the same time, I guess. But I think what I'm going to demand though, I'm not really gonna start following this and truly demanding a clean daily profile that aligns with my bias, and then clean draw on liquidity. So I'm not gonna just take every trade, like say, going into the day, this is my bias, this is what I want to see, and then price provides a trade that aligns with that bias. But if the daily profile isn't clean, like if it's seek and destroy or delayed, then I'm not gonna trade. And if I'm just gonna skip it, which is gonna be hard for me to do because like, damn, my model's here, I can make money potentially, and and if it runs without me, and if which it possibly could, then I'm gonna be very upset that I miss it. But I have to start demanding high probability stuff, and it's good to do. Shows discipline. It builds resistance towards FOMO, et cetera, et cetera. But and then demanding a clean draw on liquidity rate. But then he also said later on in a video, he said, in order to consider your trade idea to be high probability, you must have one of these two things, either a clean profile or a draw on liquidity, or both, right? And so that kind of comes back to this. So very clearly, that's obviously very important. And yeah, I'm gonna start doing that. So like you could say today, open higher at first, and then hit lower, so it's like a delayed profile. But I remember GXT saying, because it technically did, but I remember him saying, this is like a very small move above the daily open. It really didn't happen for long. It didn't trade into anything relevant. Right? If it traded into this high, that would be a completely different story. But the fact that we left equal highs here, feather swings, leaving an established high day, and then expanding lower, it's more of an open low than an open high. But it's still not a perfect open low. But if you look at YM, I would say, YM more open low, right? As well. So it's better looking in a way. So, but anyways, I know that GXT took the opposing trade here at 11 a.m. I think. And I think that's because very clearly going into 10:30, price wasn't doing shit, just consolidating. Not really displacing away from this range that like we want. So then we created SMT with this high, which is a relevant swing to this high. So it's like if 10 a.m. is going to continue lower, yeah, this is like the only area to form the high of the 10 a.m. hurricane off of if we're going to continue the daily expansion, right? Because it has a small wick. It's already aligned with expansion bearishly. So 10 a.m. opened up and created that SMT with this high with YM. I think. Sure where. Yeah, right there. Yes, created or yeah, YM created the SMT here. And I would say, yeah, 10 a.m. still supports that bear expansion. So it's like if we're going to continue the expansion, right, because this day is already aligned with expansion with that large wick, if we're going to continue that, the expansion of the daily candle, during 10 a.m. Then what does 10 a.m. have to do? It has to respect EQ of this range. What's the refined Q level closest to the before I can open this relevant swing right within this range? Right, but again, I feel like this trade is also not that clean because the daily profile's ass. Right, like I said, it's more open low, so it's not like if for bearish I want to see we're trying to for bearish, yeah, essentially I want to see that daily profile be open high, low close, right? But it's more of an open low. And then also the draw on liquidity is pretty ass. We're essentially just looking to target current day low, assuming that price is found to manipulate this low on NQ, right? So we're probably going to continue the expansion. So we're probably going to make a new low day. So the daily is aligned with the bear expansion. The 4-hour is aligned. And the 1 hour 30 minutes aligned where we got the GXT reversal sequence. This 1 hour 30 minute swing point. Or yeah, this 1 hour, or I guess this 30 minute swing point C2 away from the refined level confirms the high of the 10 a.m. forward candle, right? And then obviously we're in intraday continuation, but I would still view this as a new reversal. I wouldn't count this as, continuation because there's no reason to continue. There's no drawn liquidity below price besides current low, right? So assuming this is a new reversal, I would have to see swing switching, which we don't have on the 30 minute here, but we do on the 50 minute with the RTY. RTY created that swing switch second stage PSP. And I told myself too, before I entered into the trade, as I wasn't really liking the initial reversal away from the S&P break. So I was like thinking, just because I didn't really like it, but so I was thinking like maybe I should demand displacement higher and then trade maybe 12, maybe we'll have like asset sync or some shit at that time. But I just wanted to see, I was like thinking maybe I should wait for that clean displacement higher. But to confirm the reversal, obviously. But I didn't, because I seen this string switch like right away, right when it formed. I was like, oh fuck, I'm taking it. I had no hesitation. I just took it, which is fine. That's exactly how it has to be. So yeah. Leaving super clean for their swings at the low day as well. But so yeah, right when we create that string switch, second stage PSP here. I just feel like did price disrespect the bias, the bullish bias before like this? I just want to see, because technically 10 a.m. where we created that string switch right at 10 a.m. right here, pretty much, and then very clearly we're not displacing away from it. So assuming Flutter manipulate the low day away from the key level, so yeah, I'm guessing that's what he thought, and that this reversal was ass, and for some reason I just feel like that even the trading continuation is ass because it doesn't really, the daily bias doesn't, like, yeah, price is clearly showing doesn't really want to reverse away from the S&P break, which in reality you would want to see that. You wouldn't want to see price hit that low, consolidate. It's probably going to remanipulate this low anyways if it's going to displace higher. So I guess that's probably the logic. But it's like, what if, yeah, because yeah. So yeah, I mean, yeah, obviously if we're clearly falling reverse away from the S&T down at the lows here, I wonder, then, yeah, I guess YM technically, hold on, could catch up. That's technically the string switch, right? Q, yeah, I don't know. Anyways, I was thinking like maybe here we have SMT, right? And if we're not gonna obviously clearly reverse away from it, then that's failure SMT. And then you can say this is the string switch to break that SMT on NQ. So you could also view this as async in a way. But we still got that string switch second stage PSP on the 50-minute. So, and all time frames are lines, right? 1 hour, 30 minute, 4 hour. The daily. Alright, so start on the 5 minute. Let's see. We get that clean 3 minute CST away from that. So that's what he took right there. And this CICC allows us to go break even. So if I took off of that, would have my stop probably right there. Shoot for a 2 RR. Probably lower that a little bit. And then Robin Price creates a CICC. I would draw my stop to this high. Set half risk. Oops. And then Price creates this CICC below the entry, pretty much. So I would probably, right when we close here, I would definitely try to break even. This is exactly what you want to see though. Like reversal, nice V shape, nice CICSD, Price very clearly respecting them, opposing candles, displacing through lows, you know, etc. So shallow retracements, exactly what you want to see in expansion. So, but we just continue the daily expansion. But yeah, anyways, I want to study that a little bit more later, but I kind of want to go from the higher time frame, lower time frame, and really study that. So, but I wonder. Maybe he was targeting. Maybe that makes sense. You could say it's more of a reversal month, right? You could say because the month opened up here and immediately opened higher at first, right? I don't ever have the higher time frame monthly, even the weekly like narrative. I don't really look at it. Sometimes the weekly, but you could say you're targeting back to the monthly open because it's unestablished, right? There's no wick. It didn't form away from a key level, etc. So very clearly, prices wanting to draw back towards that to form a wick. That's interesting. And the monthly profile supports, right? We're very clearly not supporting off these gaps here. See, I mean, I don't know. Anyways, that's my day recap. Just yapping, wasting time. See ya.